All right, welcome back to One Bills Live. Chris Brown, Steve Tasker with you. Time for our fresh off-the-field interview brought to you by Austin Air, the official clean air provider of the Buffalo Bills. And here to join us is rookie sensation Khalil Shakir, coming off his 3-catch, 75-yard touchdown performance in the blowout win over the Steelers. Khalil, I'm sorry we don't have a towel for you. We'll wipe you off next time and give you the opportunity. Because you guys literally come fresh off the field.
Yeah, it's all good. You just
just wipe it down, grab a sleeve, and
people ask all the time, how did it feel like to actually get a chance to get in the game, get into a field, get into a rhythm, play after play? Because it is different than just going in, having a guy take a blow for one play and coming right back off.
Yeah, I mean, it felt good. Obviously, would have loved to have Isaiah out there. He's been a big-time mentor to me just since I've been here. He's the one that got me right to go out there and play along with all the others in that room. But whenever I come off the field, he's telling me, like, what he saw within routes and stuff like that. But it felt good to get going, get in that rhythm, make some plays, obviously. I had a missed opportunity out there as well, talking about my drop. But it was fun just to get out there, build momentum with the guys, and, just have fun overall. So
I know you spent time during the practice week last week in there to try to field some punts because the wind can do some nasty stuff in there. This guy even had to deal with it for a long time as a special teams guy. He knows what the wind does in there. And it was pretty dicey early on. Taiwan had trouble with the opening kickoff. You decided to stay away from one.
Yeah.
What was the general message going in from Coach Smiley? Like, hey, if you're not sure, just let it bounce, or what was the approach?
Smart decisions. Make a smart decision. Obviously, as a returner, I always want to catch the ball. I mean, that's the number one thing.
Right.
But also making sure that we just get the ball back to the offense. That's the main thing.
Yeah, you got to end the play with the ball.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. I just made a terrible read on that one and thought I could get under it, but just...
I saw the punt. The nose never came down, so it held up, so you couldn't get up fast enough to get... If it turns over, you were lined up deep enough, right? But when it didn't turn over, it held up, and you couldn't get there in time.
It was moving around a little bit.
Man.
Yeah.
Give us a little sense of, that if they come out of your first and 10 on the 2 front, on that first couple of plays, incompletion, a run for no gain, I think, right?
That sounds right.
And then Josh is dropping back and he throws this. I mean, that's, for me, and I've used this phrase, that's a huge stress relief for the whole team because you want to get off to a fast start. You don't know how it's going to go. Then when you score that quick touchdown on a play like that, it's like, okay, now let's go kind of thing, right?
Yeah, no, that was amazing. I mean, that was my first time being on the field and seeing something like that from that view as well. So I know then the crazier part about it was
not too many guys have seen that like that. Yeah.
And Diggs and Gabe were both doubled. And Gabe still took off and beat him down the field. So just to see it from that point of view and turn and see Gabe just gassing down the field, it was crazy.
I know you kind of seem to be a guy that just takes everything in stride. I know you admitted, after the game last week, I'm not going to lie, there wasn't nerves. But how much did getting into the Baltimore game late on offense kind of make this past week starting a little bit easier?
Yeah, I mean, it's a confidence thing as well. When I got in towards the end of that game and, made a couple plays, made a couple catches, and was out there for, that fourth quarter going into the next week, I guess that confidence and the momentum just took over throughout the week and carried over into the next game. So I think it was very important, and it all worked out.
So you've been here for 5 games so far. You were not here any games before this. Have you sensed a difference this week because it's Kansas City?
No, I mean, the guys every single week, it's, the main message is this next game is the most important because it's the next game. And they literally, that's what we say every single week, no matter who we play. And, the approach throughout the week is the same to make sure that we prepare the best way possible starting, yesterday and all the way up until game time so we can go out there and be successful.
Right.
How beneficial is it in practice going against a guy like Taron Johnson? I mean, most people consider him a top 5 nickel, maybe even a top 3 nickel in this league. I mean, when you can get quality reps in practice, I don't want to say it makes the games easy, but I don't have another term. Does it make it seem relatively no different than practice, if not easier, going against Taron every day?
Yeah, I mean, you go against Taron and those guys throughout the whole week of practice, and, you're losing a lot of reps. Those guys are really, really good. And then you get into the game, and the moves and the reaction between releases and routes just become more natural. But you know, it's insane. You know, last week got a couple releases with Taron after practice, and just to see his technique and what he's doing, and then I go back and watch my practice and see, you know, what releases worked, which ones didn't, if I could release a better way. Because if I can beat him, then I know that I will feel a lot more confident going into that next game.
Now you've got. We found out a lot about the roster because of Isaiah's injury and because of Crowder now being down. Kummero's been out. You got, you know, it was all hands on deck trying to get ready for the game last week. Give us a sense now that you've got all these guys out there, and you know that it's got to be a huge vibe, upbeat vibe now that you got all your guys.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody who's still waiting Kumaro to make his way back, and he's a big part of what we do as well. But like I said earlier, Isaiah's a big mentor to me, and having him out there actually, you know, running the routes and practicing, it's just it makes my vibe feel better as well, just having him out there. And a lot of the guys feed off of each other's energy and vibes, and today was a really good day.
I know, you know, you got a relatively good-sized family. You've got 3 siblings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 2 of them have a big-time track background.
Yeah.
So when you bust up that sideline and you kind of drift out of bounds, were there some texts from the track side of your family like, why didn't you just get that to the tape?
No, I don't. They didn't really understand what I was trying to do there. I mean, I didn't even really understand what I was trying to do there. When you watch the film, it's like I'm thinking he's right on my hip, so I'm really
got trying to give yourself.
But then you watch
can
film,
hear him and feel him, but you think he's
trying to widen.
Right.
Exactly
Okay.
what you mean. Yeah, you get a sense of it because that's people don't understand how you sense guys around because you can hear them.
Yeah.
And some guys run louder than others. You know, if it's
Right.
closer.
Yeah, I definitely could have turned up a lot faster after watching the tape. So rookie mistake for sure.
Yeah.
You just didn't realize how fast you were. You made more distance on him than you thought. It's Minka Fitzpatrick. It's an all-pro. You're probably thinking, oh, this guy's right on me.
Yeah.
So I get it. What is the sibling support like? I mean, you're all college athletes. You got a younger brother at Portland State, right? He's defensive lineman, I think. Or no, defensive back. Sorry. What was it like having 2 older siblings kind of be college athletes, you know, to kind of look up to, and then, you know, you just kind of followed and did the same kind of thing your own way?
Yeah, I always wanted to be just like my older brother, to be honest. And the way he handled business, the way he would handle his college schedule. I would go visit him all the time to see what it was like up there. And he kind of just paved the way for me. And any questions that I had, even till this day, any question that I had just about, you know, what's next? What's the next step? What do I do after this? What do I do after that? You know, I'm always in contact with him, and he always leads me the right way. So between all my siblings, my little brother's really busy, and he doesn't talk as much as the rest of us. And then my sister has a 7-year-old daughter, so she's taking care of the niece. So I try and connect with every single one of them, and whenever I ask them for advice, they all lead me in the right direction.
Nice.
So how do things change when now the room is getting more crowded again with and you know the only guy out now is Crowder's out and Kumro's kind of waiting on him. The reps have to be shared, but there's also more things for Ken Dorsey to do, more guys you can plug in at different spots. How does that rotation work with the reps in practice?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm standing there and I stay ready, stay warm on the sideline, and whenever they say 10, go in, Z, X, F, I'm ready to go in. So I don't really dive much into what are they going to do. You know, I try not to think that way. It's just be ready for whatever position they want to put me at and go out there and give it my all.
You have a pretty unique childhood because your dad was in the Marines, so you automatically you're going to be bouncing around a little bit.
Yeah.
But Hawaii and Japan, like, there aren't many kids in the U.S. that have lived in Hawaii and Japan in addition to California. So walk me through the ages when you were in those 2 different places and what the exposure to not only the Japanese culture, but even in Hawaii. I mean, you got the Polynesian culture out there. How did that kind of impact you as a kid growing up?
I think it, honestly, without even realizing it, helped me with my ability to adapt and adjust to certain situations. I don't remember much of Hawaii. I remember more of Japan. We were in Japan for 6 years, I believe.
Okay.
So I remember more of that and the culture and, you know, playing football down there was all the American bases played against each other, and there was, you know, 8 different teams that played each other. I remember my first year, the league had just started.
Okay.
In my division, it was only one my team and another team, and we only 2 teams in our age group. We played each other for like 10 weeks straight.
And this is 11-on-11 football,
Wow.
or is it
Yeah,
8-man
yeah,
football?
okay.
It's 11, yeah. So then after that year, more teams were made. You know,
Right.
it was just starting. The league was new, but after that, it wasn't like that ever again.
2
But
teams,
it's definitely a big adjustment living down there and seeing how they live down there, adjusting to that, and then moving back to the U.S., back to California. And you know, the lifestyles are completely different. So.
Sure. So how's this? You're a month and a half into your rookie season, and what looks to be, you got to feel good about the trajectory you're on. What do you think about Buffalo, the Mafia, home games as opposed to road games? I mean, the home games had to be like, especially that opening game, the Monday night game against Tennessee. It was a moment. Even Bills fans were like, "Wow, this is pretty cool."
Yeah, I mean, Bills Mafia is insane. I heard stories before the season started, and just to experience it. I mean, even when we were down in Miami, we're on the bus, and there was a corner of a bar. It's packed, and I was just like, "This is insane." Lots of love from them, and appreciate that a lot because as a young man coming into the league, having that type of fan support and love is huge. So far, it's been amazing.
Yeah.
And you just on the road, you're just pretty much watching the ball on the line of scrimmage here. Just like I'm sure the guys have told you, like Arrowhead's one of the loudest stadiums in the league. And for you, it's just like, wait, just watch that ball. And then once it's snapped, then I'm going. Because you wouldn't hear anything anyway if Josh was saying stuff anyway. I mean, he's using hand signals and everything else.
Right. It's really just watching the ball. And I remember, as when I first got here, everything moved so much faster, and I was late off the ball. And when I was watching film, I always noticed that. So that's definitely a huge point of emphasis when I step on the field, is make sure that I look at the defense and get an idea of what they're trying to do, but lock into, the ball, because no matter what the cadence is, the receiver's cadence is the ball. So.
Yeah, so this game people have been circling this game, Bills fans and Chiefs fans, since January. And because the game turned out the way it did last time, the fans were clamoring for a rules change because this game was so good the last time these two teams played, nobody wanted it to end. They just wanted to keep going, right? I mean, let's just keep
I don't know if the
overtime
players
going.
felt the same way.
Right. What's it mean now for you to, college kid watching games like that, and all of a sudden you're going to be lining up and it's going to be a virtual replay of a scene like that?
I mean, it's going to be amazing. I'm making sure that whatever the guys talk about throughout the week, I really key into what they're talking about, how it's like playing down there, what we're going to get from those type of guys, the guys returning on their defense, the way they play, just making sure that I'm really pay attention to the details throughout this whole week because, we got a team full of vets that really know what they're talking about. So just locking into all of that.
Awesome, man.
Good stuff,
And
Khalil.
you've got a wedding coming up, man, right? Congrats on that. I know you got engaged right
Congratulations.
before the
Appreciate
draft.
it.
Do you guys have a date? Is it next spring or next summer? Or?
March 10th.
Oh, okay. So it's like 1 year from when you got engaged.
Awesome,
All
man.
right. Well, at least you were smart enough to put it after the Super Bowl.
Right.
Thanks for the time, Khalil. We appreciate you stopping in.